I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
We all celebrated International Women's Day this week. You'll see on Smashy Business, we've done posts on social media about female leaders that are doing well in the region and hopefully more to come. There's been lots of activity as usual with startup funding this week. I was in Riyadh with our Lovin Saudi brand and Lovin Riyadh brands. I attended a Web3 event, which we covered on Smashy Crypto, and also a media event with Dentsu, which was really good. But there's a lot happening as well this weekend. There's an Arts DAO event, a crypto event happening, and there's also wireless. The guys tell me that Lovin Abu Dhabi will be covering. This week's interview is really interesting. It's about a family business, how they've diversified into various portfolio of assets. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome back to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. Today, we're joined by Ali Gargash. He is the Managing Director of AJG Holding. They're a leading investment company that has been serving for the last 30 years, covering and affiliated with companies in healthcare, real estate, and automotive industry. Hi, Ali.
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. So we're going to talk about the beginnings of AJG Holding, the marketplace and competition, and the future. So can you tell us a little bit about how the company started?
Sure. So I'm from the Gargash family. It's a old trading family from the UAE, and in our current setup, we're a holding, but as a family and in business, we've been around for decades. And, with the change of laws and, the country growing and the economy growing, I basically graduated from business school, finished some time at, in those days it was called Dubai Aluminium. And I was going for my master's, and I got this call from my dad saying that, once you're done, come on down, work in the family business. So I went there and I put the seeds for better governance, and that's the story of that name right there. But what we do is we basically build on what the family was always doing. So we were into the automobile industry. So one of the things I hope to talk about today is our garages. We have Gargash Hospital. So my aunt, Dr. Husniya Gargash, is one of the first board certified gynecologists in the country. And we have various other small ventures. And it all just comes from this, history that we have into business and into this part of the world.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people will know of the family name, and especially with enterprise, and, from my point of view on the consumer side with automotive. But so, Dubai, obviously people will associate the history of the commerce here with trading and with port. How did your family move from that side of things into other enterprise? How did it evolve?
Yeah. So, I think that with the growth of the country, you had the growth of different opportunities. So I could get this wrong, so I need to be a little careful here. Take it with a little, the grain of salt.
This isn't an archival family tree. It's just a podcast. That's
right. Yeah. So in the old days, you had the creek.
Yeah.
The creek was the jugular vein of trade. So we basically started out there. Great-grandfather started out there, and there would be fuel logistics, right? So there would be, the oil used to come, or the petrol used to come in jerry cans. So we started out from there, and if I'm not mistaken, they had their own little slipway, and there was no there was no regulations around slipways. There was no, I mean, people would come into this natural harbor and trade. And today you have, so just before I walked in, I was actually speaking to the Dubai Economic Department to try to sort out some papers to get a new trade activity added. In those days, you could just, probably build out your slipway and, start trading. So we've had to upgrade ourselves. And with that came, with the general location of the city and the geography and the moving tides of people came these opportunities to expand into different business models, which we're working on today.
Yeah, fascinating. So, how the company evolved into a holding? The garages and automotive, is that still the leading percentage of what the holding is?
Oh no, we're quite diversified. So we have probably about 4 different verticals. We have something that is pretty much venture capital. In fact, the garage is under that. And these are smaller businesses that we hope to grow to a certain level. We have Gargash Insurance, which is one of the leading brokerage firms in the UAE. I think we're one of the few Lloyd's approved brokers, and certainly one of the largest in town, private ones. And we also have the hospital, which I mentioned, and we have traditional real estate. So within those 4 verticals, we have the holdings on top. We also have an in-house consulting division called Gargash Management Services, where we either support the smaller businesses to effectively set themselves up, or we sit on boards. So in the case of the hospital, for example, or the insurance, I sit on the boards there, or we appoint somebody to sit on the boards. And it's it's a process that we've set up to try to run things.
So that sort of management services is basically how the holding group, the AJG, basically manages these different verticals. That's one of the main ways of doing it.
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask, like, how does one company operate day to day in all these different sectors, but you do it that way?
Yeah, there's different models of doing this. This is the way that we've chosen to do it. So we just found it works best that way. There are new changes in the laws that are coming up, which make this a lot clearer, right? And of course, if you operate in DIFC, not to delve into way too much detail, but the jurisdiction where you are also plays a role in choosing how you do this. This just worked for us because we are Dubai based, and we've been looking at this for some time, and it's we have our history, and it was a natural progression for us.
Interesting. And where do you think are the strengths? Obviously operating across sectors, operations are important. Do you see the strengths there in operations, and or is it that really is it an operational business, or is it more of a real estate business? In other words, do you also own the real estate that your other businesses operate in?
That's a great question. So the way we've set it up, right? And I'm not saying that this is the correct way. So in some cases we do build to suit, and we have arm's length transactions. So in others we rent. So it really depends. If I take the garage in particular, we have some build to suit garages. One of the garages has solar panels on that. So we have a separate financing division for the solar power. We have arm's length between the real estate company and the garage. And we also have, inshallah, a branch in Sharjah. That one is straight rent, right? I mean, it's in an existing retail location. So wherever possible, the different businesses come together and look at synergies. So we do operate the garage independently. There is an operational team. They negotiate with the real estate guys to get hopefully the best deals for everyone.
Yes. So you definitely have there's a level of independence at each level.
Yeah.
And so from your day-to-day role, as well as sitting on the boards, how and which of the entities are you more involved in?
I would say that most of my time, or let's say the most interesting time, comes from the venture capital side, the smaller things. So if I look at those 4 verticals, the larger ones, the hospital and the insurance, they have independent management. They're very good at what they do. I come in on a board level and I just look at that and I say, looks great, or this needs some work. But what gets my, what gets my juices flowing, I don't know if that's an appropriate term, but what gets me interested in my day-to-day is solving the niggles in the smaller businesses. I think that it's an honor to do that for both for my family, and in some cases we do have people from outside our circle come and talk to us in the consulting role. That is also something that takes quite a bit of time for me, but I gladly give it because I think we all learn from it, and there's good impact that can come out from that.
Yeah. So you're quite hands-on when you need to be in those businesses.
When I need to be, yeah. So it makes no sense to go into something that is not my forte. But if I have to, I will give it my best shot on on matters like that.
So before we, because we could talk about each of these businesses at length, but before we go into some of the newer ventures and the VC side of things, how are the businesses for you right now? Are they, they're in quite traditional industries, so healthcare, insurance, real estate, automotive. Are your businesses going through constant change? Are they profitable? Are they, are those industries being disrupted?
So we always have to be aware of market trends and norms. So when it comes to something like solar, right? Solar, everybody's talking about renewable. Everybody's talking about EVs, right? And disruption. It's a popular term these days, but there's something that I have to temper this with. Fintech. It's the future of this is all true. We all must be aware of it. But we also have to temper our emotional reaction. The future is not now, right? So when we drive an EV car, you have to think of all the implications that has in owning that car, right? Range anxiety, all that. In our garage, we are fully committed to building out EV repair functions, and we have we've actually gotten a certification from one of the standardization agencies here for traditional car repair. And one of the next things we're going to do is actually get an EV certification from, I think it was the Ministries of Advanced Science, I think it was. That's not to say that all the cars in the garage are going to be EV. So we have to be aware of the market and its trajectory, but we also have to be tempered. And that's something that I find a lot of difficulty in some of my conversations with my friends and my peers, that, hey, you're not being aggressive enough. We try. Yeah. We try to, go into the more forward-looking things, but we also have to be where the market is. And, within the two, you have a happy balance.
Yeah. But I guess if the businesses, if you're looking at the numbers at board level, and if the businesses are performing, then it shows where the market is today, but it also reduces the incentive to change that.
Oh yeah, there's institutional slowness. That's for sure, and it's the role of a board to address that. A good board, at least. So, we have some wonderful board members in our companies, and thankfully, they bring in opposing opinions, and that's where we try to get this balance out, right? So you have some people saying that on the board, saying that, hey, we're not aggressive enough in looking at artificial intelligence diagnostics, right? Let's say
in the
hospital
healthcare space,
in the healthcare space. And then on the other side, you say, well, there's the regulatory environment is not there. And those are fair comments, right? Between the two, you get the balance, right? Which is, do we invest in that now? One of the things we wanted to do in the hospital is that we wanted to look into robotics. That's a discussion that we have there, right? Solar energy, for example. We had a small startup that looked exclusively at solar energy. It was a solar EPC contractor when Shams Dubai was launched. But we learned from that, right? So my personal take and what we saw in the business was that solar EPC wouldn't work because you cannot get financing for your solar project from the banks because the regulatory environment is still not there. With that being said, in our build-to-suit projects, we put up our own solar panels and financed it from ourselves and are able to show track record. But if I had to do this at scale in the megawatt range, right, I would face incredible difficulties if I was not in the government or if I was not already attached to some of the large conglomerates. So those are, that's the balance. So people come out and say that, hey, I want to put solar panels on my roof. I tell them that's great, but the difficulty in that, we have a lot of sun, we have a lot of sun and solar is a great way of making energy if you're willing to commit to do it in a certain fashion. And these are, that's where, professionals come in and, hopefully try to temper the discussion a little bit. So I'll sit down with my team who would say that we can't go to the banks. We have to look at doing it internally. So, and that's how we try to address future topics.
So just, Ali, from your objective, what's your objective in running the company? Do you think, okay, the family business has shown great resilience and also entrepreneurship to evolve through the generations. And, I need to do that, but also do it with the right level of change. And to that point, are you looking at, delivering revenues across these sectors each year? Is that the objective, or is it, hang on, maybe there's an industry here that we could own the disruption of, and I'm going to sort of make a bet and go all in on that? Yeah.
It's a really interesting topic. Okay, so I'll take a slight step back. I'll go by the textbook on this one. So our objective in business is, traditionally, I think it was shareholder wealth, and then, there's an argument for stakeholder wealth, right? And I want to make a positive impact on my stakeholders, which eventually also includes the community. So that's the overall objective that we have, right?
Okay.
Or that I hold personally, and that I hope to put into my company, and that everybody that works with us lives by, right? So that we're all trying to make an impact, a positive impact in the wealth of all stakeholders. Now, if I look at taking risks, I do take risks from a strategic, role. And just this morning, there was a discussion about investing into racehorses, right? And it's something that I spent the night thinking about, because Dubai is well known for
equestrian,
the equestrian industry, and you have the Dubai Carnival going on right now, and one of the things that has come up is that there was an opportunity to invest into a horse, and we have a small stake in different horses already as a company. This was I wouldn't say a speculative investment, but it's one of those things where I thought that the city is known for this. The infrastructure is available. Why not explore it? It was something that we'd never done before. So within that space, is there something you can corner? Right? Coming to your point there, and I think there might be. And we do look into those types of things, but on a day-to-day basis, I have more simpler decisions. It's like, we gotta go to the board meeting, things like that. But sometimes I do get faced with more broad strokes. One of the things we want to do is, do we want to enter into a niche of community-based car repairs for the garage?
What are they? Explain.
So if you think of community malls, right? Community malls, they're used for haircuts and things like that. So I do wonder if there's a space for a garage. And there might be in some communities, some of the larger communities in the city, and not just in the city, in the region.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Right? So if I go to Riyadh, for example, Riyadh is a massive city, and I'm sure that there are some pockets there that could benefit from this type of thing. And there's a little bit of a locational play, there's a little bit of, there's a capital intensivity of the decision there. But it's something we look into, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this is fascinating. So many things we could look into, but I think, that's an interesting one as developments, as the real estate knowledge as well kind of grows out. And it is one way to meet customers and potentially to retain customers, because traditionally, the service center would be where the main showroom is or near, and the behavior type would be to have to go there. Whereas this is actually coming to the customer a bit more like clinics. In the you can go to the hospital, but the clinics now are within the communities. Yeah. Would you look at that? Would you look at clinics within communities? Because the company's so big.
It's very, there's just to touch on one of the more future-looking concepts out there is that we may not need so many hospitals if we have remote healthcare services. So one of the things that I saw recently was these specialized machines, right? I don't know if it was a concept or if I actually saw the machine, but you basically have diagnostic machines that you put into accessible locations, like a community-based clinic. You go take your blood, and the doctor then goes on a Zoom call with you. It says, well, hey, you need more vitamin D, right? Now there is one issue with that, and the general take is that a clinic is a feeder for a larger hospital. And that holds true because in a hospital you have related services, particularly when we talk about trauma. So if someone is in a serious situation and needs major healthcare, you can't go to your community-based clinic and say that I've just been in a car accident. You're likely going to have to go to that thing. Now, with regards to our own setup. Right now, we recently started. We're not that old, and for the location that we have, we think there's a lot more space for us to grow within our location.
When did the hospital start?
I think fully fledged, it's been 2 years. I think 3 years with the soft start, but I could be off on that. But it's
so definitely recently, yeah.
So in fact, it started just after Corona. So when was Corona? Corona was, we're still living through
2020,
it. 2020, right? Yeah. So we're in 2023. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, interesting. So just going back a little bit about the company structure. So it's a holding company. Yeah. And from a family point of view, family businesses in the region are well known. Some of them are structured in different ways. Is this a family trust? Is there a different level of protection for family assets above a sort of a board level as well?
Great question, right? But I have to bring up a couple of things here. The first is that with regards to trusts, right, and the setup there, there's something that a lot of listeners and a lot of people that I know are unaware of, and I just want to bring this up because I think it's very relevant. There is the concept of a waqf, right, which is, it can be an Islamic trust, and it's unique to this city in particular because it runs under its own regulatory framework. You also have, so I just wanted to mention that just as, just for awareness of everybody, that is available. And I'll get to what we do shortly. There's also a change in the law. So 2022, I think there was a draft family business law that has come out. Now, what we are doing is we're actually preparing for that, right? So within that law, there's a lot of reference to arbitration and effective setup and even shareholding classes. So one of the things that comes out a lot into venture capital is things like mezz debt, right? Well, onshore mezz debt was like this taboo thing, right? It was very difficult to talk about mezz debt unless you go offshore.
What's mezz debt?
Mezzanine debt, right?
Okay.
So it's not a priority in payment. It falls under things like your banks. Your banks would hold priority. There'd also be other things like pledging of shares, right? There's a lot of tools that were used, let's say in traditional Western financing, that were not available onshore here, or there was a lot of difficulty in application. And that also led to, particularly on things like shareholding classes, that led to a lot of discussions, I believe, in the legal community, which led to this law. Now, our holding right now, it's set up and hopefully gearing towards these best practices that are coming in these new laws, and also for things like taxation. Now, traditional trusts, we have looked at traditional trusts, but this company does not run in treasury. This is a regular company that is trying to up its governance game in line with the new laws, right? Not that we've not dabbled in trusts or even the waqfs. So waqfs, from a charitable perspective, I've worked on waqfs, and we do a little bit of that internally. And I do think it's something that's worth talking about in detail, but I could probably go in an hour. And
well, you've given us a flavor of the different structures, because I think it is interesting, and definitely it's about protection as well, but it's also about the right structure that allows the family business to be adaptable and be agile as well. And Ali, talking a little bit about the venture capital space, is that relatively new? Obviously, the business has always been entrepreneurial and trying different things. But when did you decide that it needed to be a VC, and what was the structure put into place to do that? And then what are the types of opportunities you look at?
So we. I'll take that into this. The structure is simply like we've got one entity under the holding, which tries to gather as many VC opportunities under it, and as a dedicated function there. And the types of opportunities we look at, really most of the opportunities have come to us. There is a deal flow that we have in our office, and because of how long we've been, in the game. I shouldn't call it a game. I should,
in the business, in the game. It's okay.
Yeah.
We understand.
So that deal flow is wide ranging. There's been some tech, right? There's been
Are there any? Do you have a portfolio online that's public, or
No, we don't talk about our most of our
Investments.
VC things.
Yeah.
We don't talk about most of them. The public facing stuff will be the hospital. Some of the things like the garage, that's up. Everybody can see that.
And so when they raise money, do they say that Gargash invested, or do you strategically keep that private?
No, we try to keep that as private as possible, and
Yeah.
a lot of our investments are, we try not to take. We gear towards active investing, and with that being said, we also try to keep as much privacy as possible out of these things. And so there is one that I'll talk about. It was actually a fund in India that we made some money off of. I mean, don't get me wrong, but it was one of those things where there was 5 of us. There was only 5 other people. We were 4 other people. We were
Including.
we were 5. And we're still in touch with those guys, and we're still talking about other opportunities in India. And India, as you know, is this up and coming economy. And India, I like to use a parallel of the West and China with us and India. India has been our traditional big economy, right? Everything from pearl trading, gold trading, it was with India. We eat biryani. Right, and gladly eat biryani. It's delicious. So that's just a little idea of how we do things.
Yeah. So the deal flow comes through, but again, like all your other portfolio, it can be different. Is there a reason why the diversified? Is there a reason why the VC part is linked on the automotive side structurally?
No. It's just that. So at the very top. There's you have your financing set up and you have your governance and all that, and I think that with the exception of certain specific requirements, like I'll give you an example of that. There are certain industries where you have to compartmentalize, and that would be one legal reason to put it into its own vertical, right? But really, it's just the time spent and the sizing. So, the hospital is a lot larger than our VC investments. The garage started as something small and it started growing and growing and growing, and we chose to bring it to the fore and talk about it. But the flow from the top to the bottom is mostly financing based, and that's how we compartmentalize it.
Yeah. Okay. So talking a little bit about the automotive industry, I know you mentioned before about electric vehicles, and then you talked about sort of sustainability and solar power as regards to real estate. But in the automotive industry, the structure in this country is, the dealership, the dealer is generally the distributor for the city, particularly maybe the country. And now as the industry evolves, we see different players entering the market, a lot of, different types of platforms, online selling or used cars and things like that. How do you view the automotive industry at the moment in the UAE?
So there's a couple of reports out. I think one was by Deloitte about the future of the automotive industry. It was written 1 or 2 years ago, and I'll take a few cues from there. So my apologies to Deloitte if I'm, blatantly ripping off there. But, I'm trying to, be nice there. There's first up, I'll say that the future is not now. We have to be very careful with looking at level 4 autonomous driving and things like that. We've got to be very, very careful. And with that caveat, I think that there is a move away from, generally speaking, from a intensive maintenance regime as cars get more computerized and they get more efficient. And we see with Tesla that you rarely have to bring in the car for, fixing your, changing your engine oil, put it simply, right? With that being said, it's not like there's zero maintenance, right? So there is some maintenance in the car, and it's fit for purpose. I personally view the future of the automotive industry as being a hybrid version of the vehicles we see out today. I do see that a lot of the OEMs will go into ancillary services. I think that's the term. So everything like insurance, right? So if you go on Tesla UAE website and you want to insure your Tesla, it sends you can insure with anyone, but it will send you, I believe, to our friends at Oman Insurance.
Yeah,
I believe. Please don't hold me to account on that one. Now, there's a possibility of them launching their own insurance services and cutting out that component and growing larger there. I think that there is going to be some consolidation in that space with some of the OEMs. I don't know how fast it will happen, but I do think it will be a change in the industry.
Yeah. So the OEMs, the manufacturers, you mean, like the car brands, and then your relationship with them will remain?
No, I mean, right now we are, we're in the aftermarket, right? So as you move away from your car, this is our particular niche, right? Not at a, and just to be clear that, Gargash Auto is separate from the enterprises. It's it's a different entity. The enterprises are, our cousins, and we hold them in high regard, and they have, I'm sure that they will have their own opinions on this. So these opinions are my own.
Yeah. So Gargash Enterprises is the dealer for...
Is the dealership that for, I believe, Alfa Romeo and for Mercedes.
Yeah.
And I think GAC. I believe it was GAC as well.
And your automotive business is after
and
sale?
We're in the aftermarket. So we are if you have a car accident and your insurance says you need to repair your car, we're in that space.
Yeah.
So even your Tesla, if it gets damaged, depending on which coverage you have, will either go to the main Tesla guys, or it can be repaired in a body shop outside. So with regards to the future of that industry, I don't think the consolidation will be so far-reaching that it will, cut out paint. Right? I don't believe that any industry is that powerful. Maybe diamonds. But with the aftermarket service industry, I think that that will, that portion will remain, particularly as we look to what I think is the standard scenario of hybridization as opposed to fully electric. I think if we go fully electric, there'll be other service models that will come up. So I think that Elon Musk himself had invested a long time ago into battery swapping technology.
Yeah.
So there's something to be said for a service component there.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, a couple of questions before we finish, and but firstly, it obviously is quite a diverse investment and business portfolio, and you even mentioned equestrian or purchasing horses. Is there any area where you kind of say, no, our expertise doesn't fit there? Do you stay out of any particular area? Many. Like F&B, things like that, retail.
Well, F&B is actually something we did put some money in. There is we have a startup called Falaj, where we sell, basically we had a farm, and we believe that we could get high quality dates to retail customers here. And shout out to our pecan dates, right? So we have pecan stuffed dates,
nice,
chocolate covered dates, and we just started that. But One thing I do stay away, and I make concerted effort to stay away from, is cryptocurrency in particular, cryptocurrency in general, and NFTs in particular. And the reason I say that is because I find it very difficult to understand how it's valued. So I try to stay away from it as much as possible.
Yeah, fair enough. So definitely no crypto, no Web3, no NFTs yet.
Yeah, no NFTs. There may be some space in the future. I'm open to changing my mind.
Yeah.
And I also have, with as diversified as we are, we're just a drop in the bucket. I mean, our limits are, we're very limited, right? The thing about money is that the world is your oyster. I don't know, the world, you have so much opportunity, but then fate hits you, and you get limits, right? So we do what we can, and
yeah, it works. So, and then Ali, you also mentioned, we touched on Saudi, you mentioned India. Is your investments outside of Dubai and UAE? And if so, how much of it is in those markets, and what does the future hold? Are you looking at other market expansion?
So I mentioned Riyadh as, something that, from a garage perspective or a workshop perspective, I think is viable. I've been to Riyadh a couple times. I've been to Saudi a few times. We actually have investments in Malaysia from a real estate perspective. But we do look at things regionally. We just think there's a little bit more space here. But I do think that perhaps in the next 2 years, we will be going to one of the countries next door. And I look forward to it because I really think we can make an impact in other areas.
Yeah. Okay. And that's in any sector? That's just for now?
That's in a couple of sectors in particular. I think that the automotive has some space.
Insurance, maybe?
Insurance, possibly, but I think that it will be more likely in real estate. So the horse I was just telling you about probably has a better chance of running in Saudi than let's say
in Maidan in Dubai.
No. Then the solar investments.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The horse, if we get the right one, it will run in Maidan and it will run in Saudi, and that's
so you think there's more opportunity with the investment horses than solar for now?
Yeah, for example, every industry, you got to kind of pick your battles type thing, and that's an example of the limitations I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Solar is an example of something that I personally went to Saudi Arabia to explore, and in the early days of Shams Dubai, we were looking at this pretty seriously. And it was not just me. I mean, the plane was full of consultants. But the challenges there are large. And, even here was difficult for us. Not to say that it can never happen. I'm open to changing my mind, but we have to pick and choose.
So just talking a little bit about the future, and in Dubai in particular, there's been a lot of momentum in the general business climate towards the Dubai financial markets, and some semi-state entities are going public and things like that. Do you think that, obviously with family businesses, and we talked about structure, that's different, but potentially underneath that structure, entities can go public. Do you think that we'll see more of that? Is that your view? Do you ever see a roadmap for your enterprises to list?
I think that we are far too small, and most, let's say, the liquidity of the market is still not at a level to support a lot of what we see. And I think it's a wonderful initiative by the semi-government entities to start listing, because it's putting your money where your mouth is. It's trying to show that this can be done. I think there's a long road ahead. I don't think it will. It's an impossibility. I do think it will take time.
Yeah. Okay, but definitely one to watch. Yeah. Okay, Ali, and then obviously you're involved in lots of businesses here. How do you view this sort of decade? Do you see this region as being more of an emerging market? Are you kind of bullish about the years to come, or are you hearing in your board meetings the word recession every day?
So the first thing is progress, inshallah, with God's grace, that we will, we're always moving forward. Even if there is a recession, we will still always be moving forward. And the markets have cycles. There could be a recession that comes up, but the next decade, again, inshallah, there will be progress. I hope that there will be progress for everyone. And
all right. Well, thanks very much for joining Dubai Works today. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure was mine. Thank you.
I'll definitely be Googling some of the terms that were shared in that interview. Really fascinating stuff, and we'll do more like that in the future. Thank you, as always, to Shahir, our producer, who brings together the guests, and Ali K and Ali B, who do the editing and distribution of all the assets and make the sound and the video look perfect, as always. Next week, we will be back again at Friday at 11, but in the meantime, we'll also be present as a media partner at Dubai Links, the creativity and advertising event taking place in Madinat Jumeirah. We'll be there for 2 days, and we'll be doing live broadcasts there as well. So if you are listening on any podcasts apps, please do like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, and you can also watch these videos in full on Smashy TV streaming service on most smart TV apps and phones as well. There's a free trial, and you can subscribe to watch the videos.